Let me check. Hold on.
Well, how are we doing, everybody? This is the Paws Up Podcast, episode 41. We are coming off our 40th episode of the show, and we have a good one for you all today. Of course, I'm Jay Gibson, alongside Kevin Burrell, Jonathan Mayer, my friends and co-hosts, and we have a super awesome guest, the man behind the camera, as we've been advertising. It is Hunter DuBois. How the hell are you doing, Hunter?
Let's go. Hey, guys, first of all, thank you so much for having me on, man. Big fan of the Paws Up podcast, man. Watch a bunch of the episodes, man, especially when the football guys are on. And, yeah, man, super happy to be here, man, and appreciate you guys. I don't get in front of the camera much, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you.
It's a unique change of pace, and we're happy to have you on, man. You've been covering FIU since 2022, man. It's been a while, you know. You've seen some amazing events here at FIU, and of course, you've met a lot of amazing people. I know you have some awesome stories to share with us, and we are just getting ready for that. It's going to be good. But let's start before your time at FIU, man. I got to know, when was the first time in your life that you can remember that you picked up a camera? And to follow that up, when did you first fall in love with sports photography? Like, what was the difference between that and that?
Okay, man. No, we're getting right into the deep end right away. I love it, man. No, so yeah, I don't think a lot of people would expect this answer, but the first time I picked up a camera was actually 2020. 2020 was the first time I picked up the camera. Yeah. So I was late into the game. I can expand on it. So basically, I always loved sports, you know what I'm saying? Always loved watching sports, following sports. Growing up, I kind of had a dream just like most people, just like you guys here probably, which is like, oh, I'd love to be a sports commentator, sports broadcaster. That was, kind of my first dream. When I went to UCF for my undergrad, kind of just floated through school for the years, man, picked up side jobs here and there, working at restaurants, different stuff, manual labor stuff, man, just like student jobs. My senior year, I ended up going to like a tabling event going into my senior year summer. And I ran across the UCF Athletic Communications office. They were doing like an internship. They were in an internship fair offering an internship. I ended up signing up for that, man. And basically the dude who ran the Athletic Communications office back then was a dude named Dan Frisella. And he answered to a dude named Scott Carr. So basically that was my first time getting into the sports information side of things. That whole year, my senior year at UCF, I didn't do any of the stuff I was doing now. I didn't do any photos, any video. All I did was like they sent out like an Excel sheet in the beginning of the semester, and it was like all the games for the whole year, the schedules. I put my name on like every single game. So I worked every volleyball game, every basketball game, every baseball game, like every home event, every football game, just doing like stats and bios and stuff like that, all the SID stuff. Did that for a year, man, and I definitely loved it. I loved working with Dan. That year was the year we went undefeated and won the national championship. You know what I'm saying? UCF Knights, charge on, baby. Bama fans may have something to say about that, but that's okay. But yeah, man, I did that for that year. I ended up after that, like not really exactly knowing what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to stick with like sports and media. So I ended up getting a GA at Barry University, a graduate assistantship. And Barry's like a small D2, North Miami. And basically, man, the second year there, right before COVID hit, I picked up a camera that was on the shelf. And I was like, let's see what this thing can do. Started snapping some pictures. And then COVID hit. And we obviously all had downtime to kind of learn some new things and experience some new stuff. And that's when I really started getting into the camera thing and kind of hit the ground running with that for like 2 years. And then, yeah, last summer, Dan gave me the call to come over here to FIU. We can talk about that more later too. But basically, yeah. And so, 2020 was the first time I picked up a camera, believe it or not.
So you mentioned UCF. You're just like Scott Carr. You took your talents to South Beach, man. That's crazy ironic. But during your time at FIU, you getting some big projects, some big endeavors. Just as far as how you took photos, as far as how you handled
Yep.
being around the athletics department, just being around players, coaches, et cetera, what did you learn from your time there that you took with you to Barry and eventually to FIU? How did it progressively change over the span of 3 colleges?
No, it's a great question. I think that first stop was I didn't know sports information, athletic communications, any of this was even a thing before I started interning with them. And I think that was the first time that it really showed me like what goes on in an athletic department, how many pieces are involved, and also kind of just the role that you play working in an athletic department. For instance, like in my thing, like obviously, I'm content, branding, marketing type thing. And that's that's one of my primary responsibilities, right? Spreading the brand, getting the brand out there. But another thing is kind of that, like, the student athletes are kind of your customers and you're kind of customer service in a sense where, you're trying to make their experience and, their time at the institution the best it can be. And, you're really also like kind of in charge of like capturing these kids' memories and their stories, So that was kind of something that I learned there that took, from that spot to Barry, where Barry, obviously we didn't have as many people and we had like 15 teams. And all those kids, I kind of felt like just how I was at UCF at a smaller portion, like I felt responsible for like telling their stories, 20, 30 years. I want these kids to look back and have memories that they could, remember the rest of their time. So yeah, I think that's, one thing I learned was just kind of like that dual nature of the job of when you work in college athletics. And then the second thing is just, how really the whole enchilada of like this business and how big it really is and how many different departments there are and how it's really so much goes on behind the scenes to make everything that you see happen. So yeah, man, no, it's been some years in the making now, man, but I've learned a lot from both of those journeys, even though I was only at UCF for a year. Obviously, that operation then, and when everything was happening, at UCF, I got there my first year. So let me backtrack a little bit more. My undergrad, I started out at FIU. Believe it or not, I went here my first 2 semesters. Yeah.
Cool.
I went here my first 2 semesters. I liked it a lot, but I actually, when I kind of started my college journey, I knew I wanted to go to UCF down the road. So once I did my first 2 semesters, got my grades up, I ended up transferring to there, did my, my undergrad there. But once I was there my senior year and like everything was popping off, when I first got there my first year, man, we went 0-12. You know what I'm saying? It was historic lows, right? Second year, we went 6-6. Third year, we went that undefeated season. So, kind of like being, in that building block phase and seeing it start from down here to, come up here, it kind of showed me, just like, what it feels like to like see that happen right in front of your eyes, And then, but now that I'm here at FIU and I've kind of been here for a couple of years now, I kind of sit here and wish, maybe I would have finished my time there, but there's no looking back, and UCF was amazing. And yeah, man, so I took a little bit from every part of the journey.
Yeah. I think it's time to talk a little bit about Barry. You spent some time there as well, and you were, part of that tennis team that won a couple championships there at the D2 level. Yep. Just talk about that experience being with the tennis team and then the relationships you built with not only the team, but just the people at Barry.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No, Barry was, so we're in D2, like tennis powerhouse. Like every single year we're in the national title, winning the national title. Literally every single year I was there, we won the men's and the women's championship on both sides. So like kind of like getting a chance, like, see, what goes into like how a season builds up all the way to that final moment, conference championships. You go into the NCAA regional, you go into the national championship. Just kind of being along for that journey, taught me a lot and taught me like kind of how to pace the season and pace the story. So you're building up to that climactic moment. But yeah, no, working with those kids over there, man, they all, that was kind of the first, time that I was really like ingrained in the team and really like behind the scenes and really got to connect like to the athletes on like I knew these guys, knew all their backgrounds, knew all their stories, knew their dreams, where they wanted to go. And so that was kind of my first experience, like getting that behind the scenes, where like now at FIU, I'm super obviously involved with the football team, and it's, I bring that, relationship building into this, the position I'm at now. But yeah, no, man, there were some special years, and it was definitely fun to, cover those teams, man, and just see those memories that those kids are going to remember the rest of their life. You know what I'm saying? Like all the time, one of my favorite things is to like look through my Instagram feed and like see how many people have my profile, like a picture that I took as their profile picture. You know, it was when I was at Barry, it wasn't like it was at here where like we got so many different pieces, so many different people that take the pictures. Barry was kind of a one-man show for a little bit. So I'm just looking and seeing, you know, all these tennis people. And so it's fun, man, for sure.
And you alluded to earlier, you talked about Scott and Dan at UCF, and what if that flash forward in 2022, you have an opportunity to go to FIU. Talk about that process of coming here to work with this program and kind of help build the brand starting last year.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So yeah, when me and Dan had kept a relationship. Like we got really close that year at UCF. I mean, I worked every single home game. Dan was the men's basketball and the football SID then. So so we worked a lot hand in hand together. Back then, you know, it was just, I was really good at showing up and doing whatever I could, but it wasn't really much. I would stack the cooler with drinks. I'd run some stats to some reporters. It wasn't anything, you know, super value adding, but at the same time, everybody, that's where I learned too, that everybody plays a role and even everybody's, you know, appreciative and it'll pay off eventually type thing. So after that, you know, Dan had tried to hire me a couple times after that to come back to UCF, but I was super, you know, I loved Barry. I loved working there. And then once, you know, that last summer came around, or, you know, a year and a half ago, rather, you know, I got the call from Dan. You know, I was at Barry and I really loved what I was doing there, but it was 4 years in. I was kind of ready for some type of like, you know, fresh endeavor, you know, new challenge. And, you know, he gave me the call. He told me that, you know, he had left UCF, down at FIU. And, you know, at first I was like, what? You're down at FIU? You know, let's go, man. We need to get a drink. We need to hang out, you know? And then he was like, yeah, but, you know, I want to bring you on again, man. Like, let's really do this thing this time. And I'm like, oh, you know, tell me about it. What's going on? So he kind of told me about the new positions, you know, that obviously, you know, Scott Carr came in, you know, Dan's position, which is, you know, senior associate AD brand advancement, was one of, you know, Scott's like first things that, you know, first positions he made, which is obviously Scott, you know, knows all about branding, man. He knows how serious it is, how important it is. And, you know, he's a super new age athletic director, man. So he, you know, you guys obviously see that from the outside in. Yeah. So then he also made these, you know, 2 additional social media positions, which is one that I ended up filling. And yeah, when Dan called me, you know, he had like kind of looked at my Instagram a little bit and saw that I was creating. But like I said, I'm sure he didn't know exactly what he was getting back then in terms of like what I could really do and what I could really bring. But he just knew that he was getting someone that would like show up, give it their all, and that really wanted to like make a name for themselves and like, you know, really, you know, put the grind in and really, you know, make something special. And yeah, man, the rest is kind of history, bro. I came in 6 days before that first home game. And we just hit the ground running from there. And I haven't looked back. And it's just been a super amazing journey and super, you know, fun ride this last year and a half. I honestly when I took that job, I wouldn't have guessed, you know, how much I've learned. And, you know, I knew, you know, we were going to go do great things, but, you know, everything that we've done, it's just to look back on now. It's definitely been a dope year and a half. No doubt about it.
And we'll definitely talk about all that stuff. But take us through that first home game. You get there to FIU, as you mentioned, 6 days before. Just what were your first impressions of, you know, the team, the whole experience at FIU, a game day, you know, at FIU?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. That's a great question, man. So, you know, when Dan called me about the opportunity, I was excited, right? But I definitely had to kind of do my little bit of research. I followed FIU for some years now, ever since I was there as a student. And then I also, you know, I would work some games there statting on the side. And I kind of knew about the whole athletic department and the nature of things, you know, but once, you know, I kind of did some more research and I figured out, you know, Dan told me about Scott Carr, who I knew from UCF, that he had gotten the job. And I had heard that a little bit before Dan, but I kind of started to connect those dots, learned about Coach Mike McIntyre. And that's when I gave him the call back. And I was really, you know, I was ready to, you know, hop on board because I saw the direction. I saw, you know, that we were primed to take off, you know, in a university that was, you know, it's kind of a sleeping giant type thing. And we were ready to kind of, you know, hit that spark and hit the ground running. So nonetheless, 6 days before the first home game, man, it was crazy. I got there and, you know, just walking up to Coach Mac, like, hey, I'm the new social media guy. Like, you know, I can't wait to tell you guys a story, you know, hit that first practice. And I remember my first day, 6 days before this first home game, we basically they showed us the intro video we had hired out, we had outsourced, man, and basically the intro video was okay, but I knew that like since I was there and like Dan had just got me in there that I wanted to come make a splash and like really do something dope. So that's when we went and recorded. And I don't know if you remember the whole Tyrese Chambers voiceover.
Yeah.
We had walking into the stadium. So basically everything in that trailer or in that video, except for the part, if you go back and watch it, like there's a part with some blue lights, everything in that trailer, so 75% of it, we shot in those 6 days. We edited in those 6 days. We had ready to go in those 6 days. Yeah, no, it was, and that was like the first thing too, you know, where I really, you know, once I did that, I hit the ground running. I was like, okay, like this is a place I get. Like once we, you know, posted that video and we started to get some feedback from the fans and all that stuff, I started to realize like how much the social media stuff could really, you know, do going forward for the brand, because it kind of was something that they really hadn't had here at this level, you know. So once we, you know, started to bring some of that sauce, I could just tell that it was going to catch on quick and it was going to keep building over and over in time. So yeah, that was my first, you know, my first week, man. It was a fun one. And that season, but I'll tell you what, too, that Bryant game, that was my first football game I ever shot, man. And I grew up playing my whole life football until I was in high school. And so for my first football game, it was that game where it felt like a movie, man, like literally like comeback, double overtime, 2-point conversion. It was crazy. It was literally like that. I won't forget that game the rest of my life. It was crazy.
Would you say it was lights out?
Lights out! Lights out!
No, that clip is amazing.
For sure.
I'm not gonna lie, man. So when I'm guessing you guys could tell that was a little bit staged, but when that happened and we told that idea to Coach Mack, like, hey, let's flick the lights, he was all for it, man. He was.
I love it.
It worked.
No, it was awesome. It was a good moment.
It's legendary.
So got to know, Hunter, you do everything on game day. You get there early, pre-game, you know, during in-game, post-game, and if we win all the cinematics. I want to know, what is your favorite part of the game day aspect for football and getting to be part of, you know, a huge game day, which every football game is the biggest one each week?
No, yeah, I got you. That's a great question too. So I would say kind of like 2-part answer. I mean, my first thing, man, just about working on game days is like, honestly, like the team aspect. Like that's the thing that I love the most. So this year we had, you know, so we got me, Christian, Antoine's our new full-timer. He came in like 3rd game of the year. We got Amber, who's our photographer. She's a student, Amber Hickson, Astro, some people know her as. And then we also had Jaden Sheffield. He traveled with us to a lot of games. And we have a host of other interns, man. Really, you know, got a lot of bright kids, bright minds. But just that's the first thing I love is like kind of working with our team, putting people in the positions, planning out how we're going to do everything that day, how the content's going to get scheduled, how it's going to get pushed, who's going to get this angle, this photo at this time. So that's kind of like my first thing that I love doing is just kind of like being there that game day. We got our team, we got our squad. Like we're gonna attack it just like our guys in the field are gonna attack it as a team, you know. But then the second thing, I mean, if I really got to just hone in on like my best part of the game to shoot for me, it's definitely got to be that like, you know, pregame 10 minutes before we're about to run out of the tunnel. You know, Coach Mack gives a speech, which is always, you know, anybody that's seen our posts, you know, the cinematics and they know the pregame speeches, man. Coach Mack knows how to give a banger pregame speech.
Fired up.
And just running out on that field, that captain's, man, you know, you're getting that, you know, adrenaline rushing right before the game. Like, oh, man, this is, you know, every game's a big game at this point, you know. So, no, man, it's that's kind of like probably my favorite part of the game in particular is that, you know, kind of that the moment before it all goes down. So.
Now, for sure. Now I want to get some interesting stuff. Obviously, you talked about it, and obviously Dan's Forcella's obviously going off to a new endeavor. And one big thing that, you know, he prioritized is growing the brand. And I want to know the strategy behind that. Obviously, FIU Athletics, which has come to be in the year, has grown. What are some things that you learned from him and how to really grow a brand, especially with a school like FIU, which is obviously one of the biggest universities, but also learning how to find ways to really promote the name and the brand as well?
Yeah, no doubt. No, I mean, that's a great question. And to give you the full answer, I could literally write, you know, a book that's pretty thick on everything that, you know, Dan has, you know, kind of taught me and me and my team and everybody involved, you know, kind of in our department, man. You know, just to start off, you know, there's a couple of things that me and Dan, I mean, there's so many different things that Dan showed us. You know, one thing that I definitely think that we shared together is kind of the whole, you know, you got a brand around, you know, the different characters in your program, the different players, you know, tell the, you know, every player's story, use that, you know, use our whole, you know, everybody in our team to our advantage type thing. And, you know, just kind of tell these kids stories. And we know that if we connect and we tell these kids stories and the fans see them and are able to put, their faces to a voice and a name, that's going to help us. Another thing is just kind of the whole getting the fans involved when it comes to game day timeline, when it comes to the game themes with the fan fits, when it comes to announcing the tailgating and how we're going to do that. There's just so many things. Like it's like you've got a big recipe, a big stew that you're cooking, and there's so many things that goes into it to really get that perfect mix, Now, of course, in Miami, you got other things that, play in a factor, depending on what's going on the weekend, or if it's raining, or, there's different things that, go into this, but it's our job to kind of build that perfect stew and, let the rest of the story play itself out, And so, Dan, like I said, there's a whole encyclopedia that I could go into. I think obviously a big thing for us has been the Vice thing has been huge. Sun Blazer has been something he touched on, but every single game, man, I mean, his ideas, whether it be the Vice, whether it be, every single game, we have a different uniform combo. Every single home game, we have a different field design. There's so many little things. And like I said, there's just so many, like when it comes into this building the brand thing, there's so many ingredients that really go into it to get that perfect combination. And yeah, man, it's, he's obviously, Dan's, on his way out now, and it's going to be a huge, huge thing to replace him. He's been, since I got here, man, he's been our leader, man. He's been the dude leading the charge, but he's left us in a great position, and he's done, so much things that are going to stick with this university, like Vice, like so much of, the people we have in place in our department and the direction we're going now, that it's, we're in a good position to keep the train on the tracks and just, keep that, craft moving up.
Am I the only one that's kind of being mesmerized how Hunter's camera is tracking his face?
Yeah, you like that? You like that?
So cool to look at, man.
Magic.
Anyway, I wanted to ask you, Hunter, something you've had the pleasure of doing is traveling with the team and the crew to the road games that FIU football goes to. So I just want to know, out of every stadium, every fan base, every city that you've been to, that you've met, that you've gone to, which road game sticks out the most to you that you've been able to cover in these 2 years?
Yeah, great question. I mean, hey, first of all, I gotta say it's kind of cheating, but what happens in the game and how everything went definitely plays in part for the memory for me.
Fair enough.
That New Mexico State game last year, dude, is a moment I will never, ever, ever forget. Just because of like everything, first FBS win in so long.
Yeah.
How those guys rallied around Coach Mack and rallied around, all those guys we got in our locker room and went out and got that W, and that road trip. But if we're talking just straight up venue, atmosphere, all that stuff, yeah, I mean, honestly, we haven't went to a place that that hasn't been, someplace awesome and exciting. I think obviously, going to Arkansas this year, when you're there, and even though they weren't having a great season, when you're seeing 45, 50,000 fans stacked in there, like you go in their, stadium, it looks like Churchill Downs, so all these glass windows and stuff. Obviously, the SEC venue is cool, and the town in Arkansas was cool too. Middle Tennessee this year, we were staying right next to Nashville, went over there, checked out Broadway, awesome place.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, no, I think there's been a lot of dope places. Arkansas would definitely stick out of my mind. UConn was cool this year. The Rent, it was kind of cool to see that. Another place I'd say too that is the most underrated stadium I can think of is definitely over at UTEP. I gotta say that the Sun Bowl up in the mountains is
classic.
It's just cool because honestly, you go there, it's up in the mountains, and obviously when we went there too, it was 25 degrees with 15 miles per hour winds, which not my forte. I'm born and raised in South Florida, so not what I'm loving. But you're up there in these mountains, the tunnels that the fans go through and stuff. It looks like something out of a Star Wars movie. Pretty cool place. But I mean, I gotta say though, I gotta love the Cage, man. FIU, palm trees, South Florida.
Cool.
Definitely everybody who comes to our place loves it better than their place. But definitely, yeah, Arkansas, UTEP. Yeah, there's been a couple that have stuck out, but a lot of some cool places on the road. But road trips are, yeah, man, that's one of the definite reasons I love this job. Just being on the team, with the team and seeing, what goes on, how they, that brotherhood that they all have, that family atmosphere that we got as a team, and being around that and just seeing, these guys' lives on the road is, a part of the puzzle that I definitely like for sure.
Yeah. So this is more of a clarification thing than anything, because I've always wondered this, but what is your go-to camera at the moment for game day. And again, another follow-up, but how much equipment have you gone through in these past 2 years at FIU?
Yeah, no, great question. Great question here. So I can, let me see. I'll untrack my face thing for a second. So camera that I'm rocking right now, I don't know if you guys are really going to know all, what this means, but this is Sony FX3.
Okay.
So this is a Sony camera, full frame, like brand new. This thing will run you like $3,900, not cheap for sure. This one's my personal one. All my equipment, I honestly use my personal equipment. FIU, we have some equipment that that our SIDs and our other creative people do use. All my stuff though is mine, just because I'm a super big camera nerd, super big like obsession with like, oh, if I'm gonna capture this moment, I need it to be the best quality.
Yeah.
Super nerd. So yeah, Sony FX3. I shoot all Sony gear. Anybody that knows me in like the creative world, they'll know that I'm a big Sony fanboy, and I'll try to trash Canon any chance I get. But all cameras at these age, even your iPhone, man, are you can get good results on. And so yeah, Sony FX3 is the baby right now. But yeah, no, I mean, game day though, you might see it on my shoulder. I'll have it, man, and I'll have like a whole thing. Everybody, whenever they see it, they're like, man, that thing's got to be $20,000, but they don't realize that it's just this little camera with like a bunch of things added on top of it and stuff. But yeah, man. So yeah.
How heavy is all of that on your shoulder?
Not that heavy, probably like 10 pounds, 10, 12 pounds. Yeah. I mean, of course, once you're there the whole game running around with it and stuff like that, it definitely, you'll want to take it down, put it down a little bit and, relax at some certain moments. But it's it's nothing too crazy, man. Nothing too crazy.
Kevin, is it time for a break?
Yes, it's time for a news break.
It's time for a Paws Up podcast news break. A quick look at some of the latest events going on at FIU Athletics and just FIU in general. So let's just get right into it. Let's start off with FIU women's soccer. This was announced earlier today, but their head coach, Jonathan Garber, has signed an extension to stay with the team through the 2027 season. Shout out Kevin, by the way. He was the first one that I saw that post. That's how I found out. This is following a very successful season in which the team went 8-6-4 and made it to the first round of the Conference USA tournament. Garber has been the coach at FIU since 2021 and will look to build upon this season for the next few years to come. So moving on to men's basketball, where it was announced a few days ago that Arturo Dean, Paws Up podcast legend, was voted as the Conference USA Player of the Week. The sophomore guard has put up some ridiculous numbers across all phases of the game, but what's really has people's eyes turning is his statistics in steals. He's the national leader in steals per game, and in that game against FGCU not that long ago, he had 10 steals, which is a program record. So congratulations to Arturo Dean, and just keep swiping up those basketballs, man. Yeah. In football news, the Conference USA All-Conference first, second, and freshman teams have been revealed, and there's a bunch of Panthers that we need to congratulate. So Jordan Garrard was the sole representative in the first team, while Dean Patterson, Donovan Manuel, and Chris Mitchell all made it to the second team. Now, Kewan Jenkins, Steven Shannon, and Todrick Bruton represented FIU on the freshman team as well. So a lot of diversity there, all over the first, second, and freshman team. So again, congratulations to all the players on FIU football for that. And finally, I want to congratulate FIU Athletics in general, as it was recently announced that the Panthers student athletes matched the department's all-time high in NCAA graduation success rates of 91% for a second consecutive year. Of course, continuing, quote, the Panthers' longstanding tradition of success in the classroom, not just on the field, end quote. So that was your very brief news break. So Hunter, I think it's time we finally talk about this. The elephant in the room, or the elephant with shades in the room, driving down Miami Beach. It's the Vice uniforms, man. They were a massive part of this season beforehand, during, and even after. So just, take us through that process, man, of photographing and promoting that initial trailer that was everywhere. It was on TikTok. It was on Sports Center. It was everywhere. What was that like, man? And all the stuff that came after regarding the Vice uniforms.
Yeah, man. Where can I even start? Vice definitely, is, sticks out as like one of my proudest accomplishments that we've done since we got here. I mean, it's, it obviously speaks for itself, like you said. I was first of all just super blessed with the opportunity that like just fell into my hands. Ricky Walterman, Ryan Webb, Johnson McIntyre, and Dan, designed those uniforms. Obviously we kind of came up with the whole Vice thing the year before and we started to kind of push it, but then they, came with those uniforms and like, they're just too fire, they're too fire. So once I saw them, I was like, all right, we have got, yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're doing great modeling it there, Jake. But once I saw these things, man, I knew we had to, come with the content that would match. Dude, no, you are killing the modeling. You should.
I appreciate it, man.
No, but it was, I knew that I had, to come with some content that was going to match the moment, man, because I knew that once these things hit, the web, that they were going to get picked up for sure.
Woo!
Dean Patterson, baby, in the right in front of the Huracan, man. But yeah, let me go back. So basically, they told me, I learned back at probably in like, May, April last year. Now, probably a little before that. Probably like, I think we started the design back in January, but then I got the finished design and stuff back in like April, May. And that's when we kind of went to town. Dan, like I said, he helped me incredibly when it came to like the strategy behind this rollout, how we were going to tease it, when we were going to announce it, helping me brainstorm the ideas and what we were going to do and, how just everything was going to go. Me and him were just like locked in, hand in hand, like making that thing happen. And I couldn't have been more blessed, have him by my side. When it came to the first shoot we did was CJ Christian. I don't know if you remember that. It was back in early summer. We actually just went out and just put a blue FIU jersey on. It was just like normal uniform. We went out on South Beach and we took a picture that was like silhouetted, and that was kind of like the first tease of the Vice.
Wow.
Yep. So, and that wasn't a Vice uniform. That was just some random uniform or like blue, navy, all navy, and I just edited it, made it blacked out. And then we went with the next thing was the Dean Patterson video, obviously, that everybody's seen that, went super viral.
Or the boxes. The boxes.
What did you say?
Remember the boxes?
Yeah, we did a box. We did a tease too, taking a picture of the boxes when they arrived. Yeah. Johnny, there you go. You remember?
I remember that. Yeah.
But yeah, no. Then so just to give some background on that shoot, we had right around that time, I started working with a side client, Mercy Luxury. They are a luxury car rental business in Miami. And I knew they had a blue Lamborghini in the fleet, and kind of just the stars lined up where I was like, hey guys, like we're shooting this uniform. I know this thing is going to go viral. We just dropped a field the year before and it went ESPN, all this stuff. I was like, guys, let us just borrow this Lamborghini. We'll give you guys a little social media shout out. You guys will get hella publicity off it. And we'll obviously, it's going to go crazy. We have a blue Lamborghini. They were all for it, like right off the rip. Yeah, so that's how that happened, which is funny because everybody in the comments is like, FIU renting Lamborghini. Like, why are they wasting our student funds on this? And I'm like, hey, like.
That's incredible. I never would have guessed. The Lamborghini was you. That was your idea.
Yeah, so so it kind of, trust me, when you go into that first meeting and you're like, everybody's like, oh, Vice ideas, and you're like, I want him to pull up in a blue Lamborghini and hop out. Everybody's like, ha ha ha, yeah, blue Lamborghini, I bet, buddy. But no, we got the blue Lamborghini. So yeah, man, no, we got that night shooting that video. The funniest thing is like everybody sees the finished product and they're like, oh my gosh, wow. So we shot that. When we shot that night, we all showed up Miami Marine Stadium right after sundown, right? We start shooting the pictures. Within 5 minutes, like, people are like coming up to us all over the place. You know what I'm saying? We ended up having to like rush through the shoot, drive over to the next spot. People are coming up to us there. Like, we're afraid people are like taking pictures, fans and stuff. It's going to get leaked. So that shoot was just super rushed, like super, like we were trying to like figure it out in the moment, make the most of it type things. You obviously, when you're out in public like that, you're cooking with some hot fire, you don't want it to get leaked beforehand and stuff like that. So that whole shoot, obviously we planned everything ahead of time. We had the shots we wanted to get, and everything, but everything was very bam, 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 fast paced. We're nailing it out. I'm hopping in the back of a car with my gimbal, filming this Lamborghini, flying the drone, all this stuff. And, but it came out awesome, man. I was super pleased with it. It did take a lot of editing. We had to do a lot of like adding colors, blues and pinks into the image, really make that Vice, things stand out. We did that studio shoot with Dean too, with the pink backdrop. That was, kind of just another little idea to add in there. And then, yeah, man, with the release, that was like the first time kind of in my social media career. Like I honestly like kind of chalk a lot of like social media stuff up to like, you got to do all the right things, but then you also need a little bit of luck. Oh, looks like my camera was unplugged. Give me 1 second.
We've lost Hunter.
You hear me?
Yeah,
Yep.
we hear you.
Okay, there we go. We're here. This is my MacBook camera now. I don't know why my other one went off. Here, let me see if I can plug it in, or I can do it at the next break. Nonetheless, so we were. I lost track of my point right there. My fault. Basically, when it came to the release, that was a lot of social media. I think is about doing the right things, putting yourselves in the right position to kind of like, sometimes you might need a little bit of luck or a little bit of the moment. A little bit something just takes off, goes viral type thing. But that was the first time where I knew, like, oh my gosh, like if we do this the right way and we tease this and we set this up the right way and we say we're going to drop at 8 p.m. and we have Coach Mac,
Yeah.
I remember that. I was going to mention that with the sunglasses and laser. No.
So all that stuff, we were like, we need to do this because we need to like have people ready for it that night, all that stuff. That was the first time where I was like, I felt like I was playing with fire in my hands, and to see like us drop it and then it just go the way it did. And even like last week, ESPN first slide, on that post on Instagram last week, like, man, like it's been a super dope ride with the Vice, man. And I was just, like I said, super blessed with the opportunity by these guys designing a dope uniform and Dan for steering me the whole time. And yeah, man, so I can't wait to, we'll see what happens, but it would be nice to run it back again, maybe, so we'll see. Yeah.
It's so interesting, by the way, that, usually when any team, college or pro, drops anticipated jerseys, they always get leaked like weeks or sometimes months in advance. I did not really see this FIU Vice.
I mean, I think we did a good job of keeping it in the back of the equipment.
Yeah, right.
I told our equipment manager Zach when they came in, please, bro, do not let any of the players see these, any of the assistant equipment, student people, don't let anybody see them, So they did a good job of keeping it under wraps, man. And we obviously were efficient with our shoot that night, and yeah, so we got lucky.
Until what time were you guys up doing that shoot?
Like I said, we were, like bang, bang, bang with it. So I think we met that night at about 7 and we were done by 9:30. Yeah, it was real. Yeah. But like I said, man, we really were cognizant of like the whole, like, we didn't want anybody to take pictures in it to get spoiled, so we were really just bang, bang, bang. And, the one space we shot it was in Miami Marine Stadium. And the next place was over at Brickell Bay Drive, which is like a famous place in the TV show, Miami Vice. It's like where, one of the, it's like a scene's gone down there. And so, yeah. And then the Coach Mac thing that was filmed, roughly around the same time at Crandon Park. And that was kind of imitating another scene from the show, obviously. And, Coach Mac, man, I can't even say enough about working with that dude and how, just lucky and blessed I am, to have him be my first, college football head coach and, hopefully my last. Hopefully we run this thing up 10 years, man. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, no, it was awesome to work with him on that for sure.
Who had the honor of driving the Lambo during the shoot?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I wish I could lie and say Dean, just got to whip it with the cleats on and everything. But so it was a dude named Robert Rushing. He's one of the people I work with over at Mercy. And that's actually his Lambo. He owns it and he works in the company as well. And he actually, believe it or not, just sold that Lamborghini, traded it in for a Ferrari red one. Yeah, so if anybody wants to buy the Vice, City Lamborghini, it's gonna be on sale at a local car dealership here soon.
So I want to get into the Biscayne Blues because those kind of dropped a little bit later. I mean, right before I believe the next game, and they people are saying these may even look better than the Vice uniforms. So just take us through the thought process and just making that video because it was a little shorter video, but it's still that it still definitely hit the point. And you can make the case they're maybe better than Vice.
Yeah, no. So that was a super fun little project too. Like I said, just to go back to like in sports, when you're working like what I'm doing, where I'm primarily with football, but of course, I work with all the teams and all the sports here at FIU, trying to help everybody, trying to provide value at, across the board, because we have so many amazing student athletes, coaches, and, things going on here that obviously we want to elevate everybody, But with that being said, projects here are just, you're turning things around quick. Every week is a new thing, and you're having to be efficient. It's not really like you get weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of, to work on things. It's kind of like you shoot things some days, and then that same week you got to turn it around type thing. So with the Biscayne Blue, that was a super quick shoot. When it comes to that uniform, Dan had told me, before the season that we were going to get that in the sand pants, which are obviously dope. I don't basically something with our uniform combos too. All of our uniform combos, they're picked by the seniors on our team before the season. There's like a little ceremony they do where they have all the seniors pick the uniform combos for the year. Right. So I won't even lie. The initial idea me and Dan had was like, all right, let's go baby blue and sand pants the first time we, unveil them both. But the guys, they wanted to do all baby blue. We were cool with whatever they wanted to do. So we went with all baby blue. I was glad we did in hindsight, because obviously that game was amazing. And the video slab, everything, the social content, got very good reaction. Yeah. So, thankful for the seniors for making that executive decision on that uniform choice. But with that video, man, we went over to Brickell Key, which is right there on the Biscayne Bay. And, I knew, Chris and Don. Obviously, Chris was just coming off of that main game where he set that big record. Donovan obviously was our defensive, juggernaut captain, going into the season and throughout the season. And then Deverick Daniels was coming off a couple big games too. So I was like, let's run it up. I knew Deverick was a senior as well, and it's a big emphasis for me, when it's somebody's senior last year, that I want to, make sure that they're taken care of and they get their, fair the shine, because that's their last ride ever, of course. So yeah, we hit that video, man, and it was used the baby DuBois as the song, and it was a fun one. We had the fisheye lens, which is a super different look. It makes everybody look. We had them like dancing around. Honestly, too, when I was directing that video, like the whole time, I'm like, yeah, like do stuff like looking at each other and hanging up the phone. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, this looks ridiculous. And then, once they see the finished product, they're like, all right, Hunter, I see what you're saying now, bro. But yeah, man, it was a fun video. And Biscayne Blues, can't wait to see those again next year. Those are, in our uniform like rotation now. So Biscayne Blues will be back, and excited for those.
I was also a fan of the one for Liberty when you had the blue and then the dark pants. Those were really nice.
Yeah, that was a combo initially. When they were picking that in the senior meeting, I was like, I don't know about that one. But once we rocked it and Bracey did the uniform review and we rocked it on the field, it actually grew on me a lot, and I thought it was very solid combo. Very solid combo.
Well, I just had one quick question, because now that we've mentioned both Vice and Biscayne Blues, well, there's only one more thing I really got to ask you, Hunter. Which one do you prefer?
Oh, I thought you were asking. I thought another question was coming, man. I thought a Sunblazer related question was coming. But nah, dude. Out of the two, man, I think that it's a pretty close tie, man. The Biscayne Blue is, first of all, the Vice definitely takes the cake, because the Vice is just one-on-one. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to take anything away from the Biscayne Blue, because it's like, it's clean. It's icy. All the dudes, like I said, the Vice is like, bro, the Vice is like one of one. Like nobody
other team does it.
Football. Like, yeah, it's just like, it's in a class of its own. But yeah, I don't know if I could say I prefer either, man. But yeah, the Biscaynes are icy. But yeah, no, they are. Honestly, going into this year, I knew we were going to get some new uniforms, but the way that everything turned out, I couldn't have been more blessed, man. They were
incredible. Yeah. You shot a lot of games this year, and you're usually the video guy. You're the one behind the cinematics. So just take us through which of those games was your favorite. Obviously, that Sam Houston game was maybe takes the cake. The double overtime was a huge game, but there was a lot of big games this season for FIU.
Yeah, man. No, a lot of big games. Yeah, the cinematics, man, are kind of one of those things too that are, we obviously only do the cinematics after we get a win, which, obviously makes sense. And And so every weekend, man, it's going into like, it's a planning process, and I'm shooting throughout the game with that mindset that I'm going to tell this story, no matter how the game's going too, because, obviously we've had games where we went down in the beginning, we came back and we've won them, so you can't ever be in that mind. You need to be making sure you're getting some other team scores and stuff too, because that's part of the story of how the game's going. I'm always in that cinematic mode when I'm shooting, right? Like, okay, how is this going to get packaged? Because last year we were doing them Sunday night after the games, we were doing them, so 24 hours after we were dropping it. And then this year we kind of made the decision to push that to Monday night, mainly from the factor of like, we knew the extra time was going to be worth it in terms of like how much it would bring the quality up.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, I'm always shooting with that cinematic mode in, and this year, man, dude, the favorite one I had cooking up, like the one that I personally liked the video the best, just because of the way it went flowing and building it. And also too, I got to give a shout out to Antoine Robinson, because he, with the first cinematic main, he wasn't in yet, so I cooked that one by myself. The last three, we were in the office that whole entire Monday from 8 a.m. until when it got released, just me and him going back and forth. Like, I would do 30 minutes, he would hop on for 30 minutes. I would, so we were tag teaming it. And but the North Texas one for me is kind of probably my favorite. Yeah, the North Texas game, man, was just – I like games. So personally, like when I'm a photographer, videographer, my favorite time to shoot of the day, always sunset, like hour before.
Yeah, it was kind of a sunset game, yeah.
Yeah, so that game was like right as it was setting, and it ended right at nighttime. So like it was probably the best timing for me. But then, yeah, man, every game was its own story this year, man. And even the ones we didn't come out on top of, man, there was moments in there too where I win or loss, man, I love being with the team. I love being a part of their story. I love capturing every moment, and even, when things don't go our way, I know down the line, man, that it's going to pay off, and that things are, tell the story now and everything for what it is now. And when you're on the top of that mountain down the road, you're just going to have all this stuff to look back on as, what got you there type thing. So yeah, man, no, it's game days are what I look forward to. This is what I live for, man. I am super sad that I'm not going to have one for a while now. I mean, I got basketball and baseball and, all the spring sports that are coming up to keep me, a little bit entertained, a little bit my thirst a little bit quenched right now, of course, but definitely I can't wait for those next football games. It's for sure.
What was it like being in an SEC school there? That was a fun game too, for the most part. They were in it until almost at the end. So just being there and shooting that, and just being able to maybe shoot history for FIU.
Yeah, man. No, I mean, listen, it all these games too, like you just said too, where like we were in it for a while there. College football, man, is such a sport that one or two or three plays can just completely change the course of a game, So I don't know if there's been a game, except for maybe that Western Kentucky game last year, where like I really felt like we were, the first one, obviously 7-3. So that I really felt like we were out of it at any point relatively close to the end. You know what I'm saying? So all those games have their moments where they're just a journey and you're enjoying it the whole time. And like even that Arkansas, like it felt that whole game like we were in it, and like we definitely, it could have went our way type thing. Of course, there were some unfortunate plays, like with one was a fumble 6, right? Where just some things that are just unfortunate, man. But yeah, playing in that SEC environment was. Yeah, it's SEC is definitely what it's advertised to be, and especially because that was not even obviously a great season for them, and still to see the turnout and the way that things worked over there, it was inspiring, and I know that FIU we're going to keep building and building and building and building, and I can't wait for literally I cannot wait for the day that we pack the cage to the brim, because it's coming here soon for sure. And yeah, man, I can't wait for it. And I will say too, with that, with the SEC thing too, we went to the Arkansas basketball game the night before. Me, Dan, Amber, and Jaden. Just kind of we fly in on Friday, play the game on Saturday. We fly home right after the game. But on Friday, after we get in, we get all of our travel content out. We have everything done for the next day. We get a chance to go out on the town. Get dinner. And enjoy ourselves a little bit. And we went to the basketball game that night, and just to see the energy in there and the chance they got and all this stuff. Yeah, man, definitely inspiring. And yeah, man, I just can't wait for us to keep, headed in that direction,
the basketball games have been looking good thus far, at least.
100%. Last year too, we had some great basketball games. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Miami is everybody knows that Miami is a town that's super win-loss based. I've been a Miami sports fan my whole entire life, and and I'm proud to say that. And I'm a Dolphins fan, Heat fan, grew up a Hurricanes fan, and so I know all about how Miami is and what it takes to really pack those crowds. But man, no, our basketball attendance, and obviously even our football attendance these past year and a half, everybody knows how far it's come, since we've, Coach Mack, Scott Carr, and how, when even you look at that Liberty game this year and you look at the crowd there, we're going to just keep building off that. But yeah, the basketball crowds, man, have been impressive. That FAU game last year was crazy packed, Yeah, I know that was a tough one too. Hey, we were right there with them though.
Yeah. Oh man,
like the Miami game,
We'll get him this time though. We'll get him this
next
week.
Hey, that Miami game too. We had a good road crowd there. We probably had 200, 300 people there. In FIU shirts and stuff. So that was So it was we're gonna keep building. We're gonna keep building, man, and I can't wait to get there.
That's kind of like tie a bow with this football season. Obviously, not what expected from a record wise, but talk a little about being able to work with this team and obviously some record-setting players. You look at it, but what was it like being able to work closely with this football team in 2023?
Yeah, man, no, just a blessing, man. Just a blessing. It was a blessing that first year I came in, and that first year when I came in, I obviously knew the challenges that everybody was going up against, from Scott Carr to me to Coach Matt. I knew, what I knew all about FIU's past. I had done the research, and I knew obviously the 2 years coming in, or the 2 years prior to Coach Matt coming in. We won one game in 2 years, and I think was the year before that. Yeah, so it was the COVID year, right? And then it was 1-11, right?
1-16.
Yeah. So I knew the challenge that was coming up against, and last year, man. Obviously we made some big steps in the right direction. We made some huge strides. And this year too, even with the record, like I said, football is such a close game. I think, if you play this year's team versus 2022, you play them 10 times against each other. I'm very confident that this year's team wins 9 out of 10 of those. I think we took, we got a lot more talent in. A lot of our guys progressed. I see a ton of progress in our program. And I can't wait to keep building on it. Obviously, we got Kiwan lights out in now. He had a very, very, very solid freshman year here, starting as a true freshman, which is, when you're going against high schoolers one year and you're going against grown men the next, man, it's a huge change. And he, obviously, balled out and handled that super well. And yeah, man, I mean, right now, just to go talking about the project, the future and stuff, right now is kind of my Super Bowl. And what I mean by that is right now is official visit time of the season, right? We got OVs, 3 weekends in a row. And that's what I say is my 3 Super Bowls, man. But that's my chance to kind of, give these kids and these recruits that, taste of the experience that they can have in FIU. That's what I talk about with the whole dual, you're providing value, but you're also customer service. It's the same thing with recruiting, man. You want to know how to talk to these people, talk to their families, get them excited, get them to see, what I see in the program, what Coach Mack sees in the program. And so, yeah, man, no, I'm right in the thick of that right now. But just to wrap a bow on your question, John, it was just a blessing to cover this team this year, man. Obviously, there were some things towards the end of the year that we didn't go exactly how we wanted it, but that doesn't, to me, I still see so much progress that we've made this year, and I just can't wait to, keep building on top of those building blocks, man. We've won 8 games in 2 years now. We've won 1 game the 2 years before that. Yeah. We're definitely just going to keep going up, man. And like I said, obviously you look at our conference too. That's one thing I'll say is I think a lot of people went into this year, in a national media scale, kind of looking down on Conference USA and you're sitting. And I think it was eye-opening to a lot of people, the results, especially from the new members of the conference. I got to give them hats off to Liberty, New Mexico State, obviously. New Mexico State this year too. I'll tell you what, I'm sure you could guess how disappointing that was for so many people, especially players go, when you win that game the year prior and then you go and you don't get it, obviously, you want to get in your head mentally, but now you see how New Mexico State finished the year and you see, how they beat Auburn and it's, even like that game doesn't look like what it felt like in the moment. You know what I'm saying? And it's just the whole, our conference, man. It's I'm excited. And I think next year is going to be another just super competitive year in Conference USA. And yeah, man, I can't wait to see our guys get after it. Especially once we see this new look team, man. Every year in college football now, it's it's obviously a totally different landscape, and every year, you're going to have a ton of turnover no matter what school you are. So yeah, I'm just excited to this spring to roll around and for us to get a peek at that 2024 team, man, and start telling stories.
Should be fun. But I got an interesting question for you. Talk about you're the football guy, but we have all these other sports from all the Olympic sports, and I want to know what's the process of like filming, compared from football, whether it's baseball or at the pool for swimming, diving, basketball or tennis. What's it like being able to work with different sports and kind of making sure that they're able to get as much as they want, but also having creative ideas working with, a different sport than, the gridiron?
Yeah, for sure. No. I mean, hey, so remember when I was at Barry, we obviously didn't have football. So, I started this little sports photo thing, not shooting football, even though like I grew up playing football my whole entire life. My dad played college football. I played at Missouri Western. It's a D2 school up in Missouri. And I grew up playing football until about junior year of high school. So that was my whole life. That was what I loved. And when I got to Barry, when I was like, oh, we don't have football here. Or I knew obviously before I got that job, but I was like, going into this, no football. What is this going to look like? But that's when I gained a different appreciation for a lot of sports. You wouldn't have caught me dead before ever watching a tennis match, ever watching a golf tournament, ever doing any of that stuff. And once I really golf, I take back. I used to love watching majors too, but it's just, they were my favorite sports. But once I really got the, experience of like shooting them and really understanding the biggest thing with all this video thing, man, is like, we all have these like photo, creative skills, but everybody's got their niche, right? Whether it's like working in cars, working in sports, working in fashion. And the way that you get better at those things is just being in those situations more and taking those repetitions more and being in more, baseball games and experiencing those moments of who I got to capture in what moment. Like, oh, a pitcher, he's got a perfect game. Let me make sure he gets that strikeout, type thing like that. It's just about that repetition. So no, I love working with other sports. I got to tell you that probably the best sport I am at shooting is tennis. I feel like I could hop on any tennis court, man, and just, rock it up just because of that Barry experience. Like, when you shoot 100+ matches, in 3 or 4, or 2 or 3 years, it you get that reps for it. So football, like I said, I've only got like 20 or so games under my belt. So I'm still, every time I'm out there, I'm getting more and more comfortable and I'm learning more and more. But yeah, man, anytime I get the opportunity to go out and film those other sports, I love it. And, of course, with the student crew that I oversee and also just that my creative, coworkers, Christian, Antoine, John Mayer now over in the SID office, I like also though, the more that they work with these other sports and the more that they learn about how to learn, if that makes any sense, get that experience of like trying something new and adapting to it, the better you're going to be in this creative thing. Because then any different, once you say these kids get out of school or they go to their next university, and anybody's like, oh, do you know how to film this? Or you know how to do this? They can look back and, oh yeah, I did that a couple times here, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, man, I love filming all different types of sports, man. There's honestly none of them that I don't love to shoot. Out of all the ones we got some great ones, bro. I'll tell you what, one that I had difficulty with at Barry, it was rowing. It kind of took me some reps to get there, man, because you got to, that was mainly drone. That's what I'll say. You fly the drone around them, you can get some cool stuff. But yeah, I like being close to the action, man. Right there on the sideline, baseline, so.
Hunter, I also miss FIU football already. I miss it a lot. And Kevin, Johnny, I know you guys feel the same, man. So you know what? Yeah. Let's do something in the spirit of FIU football, man. We usually do this for our Paws Up previews, but it's a special occasion. Let's take a quick look at the Conference USA and the bowl games that they're going to be in, and make some predictions for what we think is going to happen, man. So let's kick it off with none other than the New Orleans Bowl. That's going to be on December 16th. That is Jacksonville State against the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns at 2:15 p.m. Who do we all got? I'll start us off, man. I am going to go Jacksonville State. The fact that they were shut out of even getting to a bowl game for most of the season is a crime. And thank God it all worked out that they finally got in. But I have seen Louisiana Tech film. They are a great school, but Jacksonville State has an offense that is tough as nails to take down, man. Go in the Gamecocks. What say you, Hunter?
I'm gonna give away all my answers for all of them right now. I'm going CUSA across the board, but we'll go with this first one. Yeah, I'm taking Jack State, man. Jack State, team definitely that shocked a lot of people this year, just because people I don't think knew really how that they were preparing for this transition and how Rich Rod's obviously a legendary coach, and so I'll take Jack State in this one for sure, man, for sure.
Kevin,
give me Jack State. What they've done this season is incredible. Running that 2-quarterback system, they've got their running back too. I mean, they've done it, man. And that's something I would love to see FIU do a little more. Look at what Jack State did, and that's definitely something FIU should consider. I know we spoke about it a couple episodes ago, and it's really fun. It's a fun system. I'm very surprised. I'm very interested to see what they'll do next year, given that obviously don't have Zion Webb. He was, I believe, a 6th year or 7th year, and he's now gone. So I'm very interested to see what they do on that end. But Jack State, man, they're such a fun team to watch, and their defense is one of the best in the conference, one of the best out there, probably amongst all these bowl games. So it's gonna be a fun game, man. Give me Jack State.
Johnny,
I'll take Jack State. I'm very deserving enough to make the bowl game. Obviously, I know with NCAA, with the rules, you can't in your first 2 years, but for them to be able to win their first year, very deserving to go to bowl game, and I think they'll get a bowl win against the Raging Cajuns.
There we go.
Moving on, it's a Jacksonville sweep. We love to see it, man. Moving on, we have the New Mexico Bowl, conveniently, with the New Mexico State Aggies, as they essentially host the Fresno State Bulldogs. That's also on December 16th. That's going to be at 5:45 p.m. So let's make our predictions. I'll start us off. I think it's going to be a close game. Fresno State's a sneaky good team, man. But from what we see with Pavia and this squad that New Mexico State has, granted they did not win the Conference USA Championship, but geez, they still put up some amazing numbers in a loss, man. Those numbers that they put up would win them most of the games in the regular season. So assuming Pavia plays, because he did exit that game with an injury. Hopefully he's going to be back to play this game. If he does, I'm taking New Mexico State. Hunter, you said you're taking New Mexico State. How will they beat Fresno State?
We're going to go Diego Pavia at 98-yard touchdown walk-off, just time expiring. Yeah, crazy. You've never seen it before. Yeah, he's going to truck stick 8 defenders, score.
There we go.
Kevin, Johnny, is this the New Mexico State sweep?
Aggies all the way.
I will take the Aggies, but we'll see if Pavia even plays. And Fresno State does not have their head coach. He retired. So
right.
Yeah, that should be
Aggies
interesting
by 30.
how they adjust.
Moving on now. This is an interesting bowl game, first off. It is the famous Toaster Bowl. Don't let the name fool you. This is the Bahamas Bowl. This is what the Bahamas Bowl has become for this season because they had to move it out. It's in Charlotte now. But in any event, it's Western Kentucky, another damn good school in Conference USA, taking on the Old Dominion Monarchs. I believe one of the Conference USA teams played Old Dominion this season. I can't remember if it was
Liberty.
It was Liberty. Okay. Liberty played a bunch of wacky teams on their way to an undefeated season. Going to Western Kentucky, and they're winning big. I'm not vibing with Old Dominion in Western Kentucky, man. I still think they have one of the best pure passers in Conference USA, and their offense is, again, unstoppable. Take the Hilltoppers. Hunter, yeah,
man. No, Western Kentucky. Yeah, honestly, Western Kentucky. I honestly thought most like most people going into this year was going to be, kind of the team to beat in Conference USA. Obviously, things didn't shake out that way. But yeah, no, I'll take the Hilltoppers, baby. That ugly red mascot. Woohoo!
Kevin.
Yeah, give me the Hilltoppers. Austin Reed, what he's done there is incredible. He's one of the best quarterbacks in Conference USA, and we'll talk about one of the other best quarterbacks in CUSA in a bit. But yeah, give me the Hilltoppers big. Old Dominion, I believe they were 6-6, and they had a couple guys enter the portal. So
yeah, Johnny,
Hilltoppers. I want to see Austin Reed go out on a high note. So
okay, this is last game. This is last game.
Yeah.
Bro, honestly, the fact that him staying there this year was very uncharacteristic in today's QB.
He went in the portal and then he came out.
Yeah, I like it's shocking a little bit, to be honest. But
okay, so far we've all picked the exact same teams. I wonder if that's about to change as we get into the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, one of the biggest bowl games there is, a New Year's Six bowl game between the Oregon Ducks and the Liberty Flames. That is at 1 p.m. Oh, wow, what a matchup. The fact that a Conference USA team that Liberty's repping CUSA in a New Year's Six bowl is wild. Granted, they deserve it. They went undefeated. They won their CUSA game convincingly, man. So I'll start us off. I'm not taking a Conference USA team. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I have to take the Oregon Ducks, man. Bo Nix in that offense is crazy. But you know what? I will say this. Who wants this game more? I think it's absolutely Liberty who wants to win this more than the Oregon Ducks. The Oregon Ducks, they wanted to go compete in the college football championship. They did not. They lost to Washington, so that's why they're here. Still, they have a high-powered offense. They have one of the best defenses in the nation. Granted, they kind of struggled against Washington twice now, but still. And then you look at strength of schedule. I don't know, man. I got to take the Oregon Ducks. But, Hunter, how is Liberty going to defeat Oregon?
I feel you for that pick too, Jake. I mean, obviously, Oregon's, tough. They are definitely tough. And, yeah, man, I mean, it's a Conference USA team. But I'm going to take Liberty. I'm going to take Liberty because I'm a homer, Conference USA. I got to just root for them. I got to take them. I feel like it's nearly a contractual obligation for me, But no. I mean, on a real note, though, man, just kind of a sidetrack, too. Yeah, just what a W for Conference USA to get that spot.
First time ever, too.
W. And mainly kind of just big transient W to us because going into this year, I don't think any Conference USA coach could look at their team and be like, everybody wants to say that their expectations to win every game and go to the national title. But I don't think any Conference USA coach was actually saying to their people hey, we're going to go to the national title. They were saying, we're going to win all of our games. We're going to win a conference championship. We're going to go to a New Year's Six bowl. Next year now, that completely changes. That completely changes. Which is amazing. And of course, I think you gotta go undefeated because I think there's always going to be a group of 5 team that's going to be right there. Maybe not undefeated, but at least 12-1 type thing. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But in terms of what it means, them getting this spot for what it means next year is just unreal big. But yeah, I'm taking Liberty.
Kevin.
Give me Liberty, man. It's going to be a very fun game. Nonetheless, Bo Nix is actually playing in the game. I'm very surprised, but it's I guess it's good for his draft stock. But yeah, give me Liberty. This is a very good football team. They're going to win. They're going to win. It's going to be probably one of the better bowl games we'll watch this weekend, but this upcoming, on that day. But it's going to be such a fun game. Liberty, you could make the case they should be a Power 5 team with how good they've played. But yeah, as Hunter said, this Conference USA as a whole in every aspect of in every sport, it's going to be a very fun conference for years to come. You're adding Kennesaw State next year, and then you have Delaware, so you're adding 2 more teams. That Kennesaw State for basketball, they were in the NCAA tournament not too long ago, and Delaware's always been a very good athletics program, and so should be fun. It should be very fun, not only now Conference USA, but the future of it as well. Hopefully we get a couple more teams. That wouldn't hurt.
Amen.
Johnny, who are you taking?
Yes, I'm contractually obligated to say Liberty. So I'll take
we have a contractually obligated kids here. Of course they're taking the Flames, man.
Aiden Salter is really good.
Well, shoot, I'm the only one that didn't take Liberty. Now I kind of feel bad. But
no, I'm kidding. It's all good, bro. It's all good, bro. They're not the Panthers, so
right. Oh, of course not, man. All right, let's get to some fun rapid fire questions to start to close off the show here. You photographed a bunch of players, Hunter. Who has been your favorite player to photograph?
You just gave me such a hard question that I got. If I got to be honest, man.
Take your time. Take your time. Give it a deep thought.
No. So this is supposed to be rapid fire, though. So I'm supposed to just go bam, Listen, there's been a lot. First of all, I will say someone that I've had a special relationship with these past year and a half since I got here. has definitely been Chris Mitchell, man. I've had a special relationship with Chris Mitchell, and I've took a lot of photos of him. So definitely going to miss him. Rooting him all the best going forward for sure. But that's one person. I love Lights too, man. Lights is super. I like people, honestly, that eat up the camera and just love it, and he is definitely one of those dudes who like always in the back of his head, he knows it's there. And he's like, he's just always ready to have a good time. So I'd probably say, one of those two is one of my favorite.
For as much as you've covered tennis, are you good at tennis? What do you say you're a good tennis player?
Horrible. I would literally not my girlfriend plays like twice a week. So if I stepped out on the court with her, that'd probably be the one thing that she can beat me in athletically. So there we go.
I gotta know. You work with the cars, Mercy Luxury. What's your favorite car?
Ooh, great question, dude. Like realistic favorite car or like just out there favorite car? Out there favorite car is definitely just some dope Ferrari. You know what I'm saying? Some
realistic though. Realistic.
Yeah, but realistically, man, I love Corvettes, man. As corny as it is, like the new Model 2, the mid-engine C8s, I think they are. I think they're pretty sweet, man. To video though, just definitely one of those luxury cars, man. It's like those Lambos. I shot a Lamborghini today, actually, believe it or not. We pulled it up and shot some photos right outside my apartment in Edgewater. So, yeah, there you go.
So I know you've now had a couple years to go all around this campus, man. What's your favorite spot to hang out on a campus? Either just hang out with friends, get some work done, or to grab a bite to eat, man. Just where do you go?
Yeah, I mean, the corny cop-out answer is going to be the balcony of my office. I work in the football stadium up in the suites, one of the suites we occupy. And so whenever I need a little bit of R&R, I just step right outside and look at the sunset over the field. But secondary answer, yeah, I know. Dude, I'm so locked into work, so that's my only time I get out. But secondary answer. First of all, FIU, beautiful campus. I love it. When I went to UCF, I love that campus too, but I love FIU's campus, man. It is it's just beautiful. And if I had to give a place that I go to occasionally to work, probably would just have to be outside the library towards the fountain. You know what I'm saying? Towards like the big lake with the fountain.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, probably over there.
What about your favorite place what's your favorite dining spot though?
Oh, favorite dining spot on campus? Man. Like I'm really boring and I'm just going to say Chick-fil-A because I'm addicted, like at least 3 times a week. Just got to rip a Chick-fil-A run, no doubt about it. Tropical smoothie though. So I do love next to tropical smoothies. Tropical smoothies bangs as well, for sure.
It's close too. It's not too far either.
Little walk right there, man. I just tell Mayor, hey Mayor, man, you're in the SID office.
You did that before. You've done that before. I've
actually, 100%. Oh my gosh.
Hunter, there's you're for basketball, for football, you've been on the sidelines. Have you ever, you've had your moments where the players come at you? What's like the one that stands out to you where either they crashed into you or just like one of those crazy stories just filming there?
Yeah, man. There's definitely 2 stick out to me. One is I'm sure you guys have seen it and you're going to remember it. I have a reel on my page of Jalen Bracey. He doesn't get a catch, but ball gets defended like right in front of me, like the Chris Mitchell catch, like where it's right there in front of me. And I literally jump over him, bro, like in slow-mo. So that was one. It's deep down on my Instagram page. And then the next one would just be, there was a moment last year where I'm like in the back of the end zone by the field goal post. We're in the red zone on like the 5-yard line. Grayson like tries to fit a slant in and like a rocket too.
Okay.
Goes right. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. So this is the angle from the camera and then there's the angle from my boy right here.
Shit.
And then I help my boy out, Gracie. That's my dog.
Let's go.
So that's one moment. Then the second one, Grayson throws a slant, bullet over the middle, goes. I don't know if it's through his hands or something, but basically it's coming right for my face, and I see it through the camera, and I literally just go like this. Flies by me. I look to the left, and like all these cheerleaders are like, "Oh my God, you just do that!" I'm like, I'm freaking John Wick, man. I don't know what to tell you. So that's second moment.
I got a good question. I heard a source. Is it true you have a music background? That's what I've been hearing, rumbling.
Yeah, man. I used to back in the day. I used to produce some music, man. Maybe used to drop some raps here and there. You know what I'm saying? But I actually kind of give that a little bit of influence on my style when it comes to video. So like when it comes to the creative stuff, like when I make a video, 85 to 90% of the time, I'm starting with the music and I'm building the video around the music. You know what I'm saying? To the tempo of the music and stuff. So when it comes to like hearing the tempos and the production and stuff like that, yeah, I definitely would say that influenced me. Yeah, for sure.
All right, Hunter, you've been an amazing guest on the show, man. Let's start to wrap it up here. We always like to do this with our guests. It's no different. Not an athlete, but we still have to do this, man. The floor is now yours, man. If you have any advice that you could give to young and aspiring photographers, journalists in the world of sports, man, just if you have any advice you'd like to share to help them.
Oh, you put me main stage like that.
Yeah, bro. Is now yours,
man. Now I feel like I'm recording like a message to myself in the past. I'm gonna just drop in like a time machine, you know. Listen, no, man. I mean, it would be to any like young person in this field, which is just like I said with UCF, how like that Excel sheet dropped and I put my name on every single game and I showed up every single game and I was reliable. Man, being that in this young creative space is just going to pay you forward, man. The more you show up and the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. The more reps you do, the better you're going to get, man. So it's just really all about, trying to provide the most value you can and just being consistent, and it's going to end up your way. So there you go.
All righty. Hunter, this has been an awesome episode. This was a fantastic episode, man. You've been
like I said, been a fan of the pod for a minute. When Kevin texted me and asked me to come on, I was really honored, man. And I haven't said this yet, but just want to say too, like, you guys have no idea what this does. You know what I'm saying? In terms of just putting our stories out there and our athletes' stories out there and having that outlet, man. And, you know, it's massive, dude. We appreciate it a lot. A lot of us pay attention to it. Yeah, man, I just hope you guys keep grinding into the future and that I hope this podcast stays alive for, as long as I'm here at FIU, which is hopefully a long time. So
hopefully a long time. And we'll keep going. And we still have some awesome guests lined up for the future. A lot of guests we want to get on the show.
Yeah, we got to get Kiwan.
You were one of them. You were one of them.
We talked about it before the episode. But we got to get Kiwan on here soon.
We will. Lights out on the Paws Up podcast.
Y'all will love him. That will be a great one, man.
I can already think of that moment in the show where he says something where Lights Out says something, and then I can do this.
Lights out! Lights out!
Bro, that moment.
And we'll have come full circle, right?
Really.
Yeah. Hey, it's gonna come full circle next year when he gets that Player of the Year trophy. That's when it's gonna come full circle.
Yes.
Let's go. Come on.
All right, Hunter. Again,
I appreciate you guys for having me on. Now, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So that's been Hunter. I'm Jake, along with Kevin and Johnny. There's just one last thing to do, man. How about some Paws Up?